Hello, everybody, and welcome to Nessie's Dead. We are your fabulous hosts, Spencer and Helen.
Hello.
Hello, hello. Now, it has been raining quite a bit here for us.
Non-stop.
And I don't know if that maybe subconsciously inspired me to cover what I have to talk about. It maybe did.
Okay.
So I want to talk about the rain. I know you're probably thinking, what on earth does the rain have to do with this podcast? But I feel like, everyone I think kind of feels the same, that there's kind of a spookiness to rainy weather, right?
Mm-hmm. I love it. It's my favorite.
Yeah, it's like atmospheric. There are a lot of scary movies that are set in a rainstorm. A lot of scary stories in general are set during rainstorms. It's common to watch a scary movie during a rainstorm. There's this kind of just spooky undertone to rainy weather.
Yeah.
However, rain itself is really not that spooky at all, right?
Right.
But it is kind of spooky when the rain is not normal rain, or when things fall down from the sky with it that should not be falling down from the sky. Do you have any idea of where I'm going with that?
No. The blue rain that we just got in Texas, you recovering that?
No, I was going to bring that up actually because I just saw that. There's like little to no information about it, but yeah, there's been blue rain in Texas.
Yeah, that was weird.
So yes, with all that, I want to talk about that blue rain, and I want to talk about strange rain in general.
Oh.
Now, there's one particular case of strange rain that we're going to cover, but I am going to kind of briefly touch on a few cases of it.
Okay.
So the first one I want to talk about takes place February 6th of 2015 in the state of Oregon. Now, Oregon is in the Pacific Northwest. It is a rainforest area, so it rains there a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's usually just normal, clear rain. However, February 6, 2015, they had something called milky rain. This was when the rain that fell from the sky that day had this like chalky white color to it.
Ew.
And it left this white residue on everything, like streets, cars, houses, everything was just white. Now, of course, theories ranged from like aliens to chemtrails, but it turned out to be something pretty natural and normal, just very rare. 500 miles away, there was a dry saline lake bed. There was no water in it because of a drought. I guess a bunch of wind had gone through that area and picked up this saline-based dust and dirt and whatnot. It got picked up and brought through in the sky, and then it colored the rain because of the salt.
Interesting. I didn't realize that could take place.
Yeah. It has a very logical, natural explanation, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, the next one I want to talk about takes place in Kerala, India in July 1957. This is when they had what is referred to as a blood rain. And it lasted actually for several months. It starts out as like a normal storm. The clouds roll in, starts raining, but the rain was blood red. Of course, everyone's freaking out, thinking that it was some kind of apocalyptic situation and that there was actually blood falling from the sky.
I would have thought so.
Yeah, and it's also scary to think that it lasted for several months.
Oh, yeah.
But it was not actually blood. I don't think they're still 100% sure what caused it to be blood red, but at first they were thinking that it was from some kind of like meteor dust in the atmosphere that like came down and got caught in the clouds or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a meteorologist, so that's my best explanation. The most like agreed on theory is that the rain was actually dyed from red algae spores that got like trapped up in the air.
Oh, that makes more sense, I think.
It does. Yeah, and it's kind of like the milky rain. The wind picked up that white dust and it dyed the rain white.
Mm-hmm.
That blood rain has actually occurred multiple times in this part of India, and it's been documented in other parts of the world as well throughout history.
Oh, so they kind of knew what was going on.
Kind of.
Okay.
There's also been green rain, and that came from some kind of pollen in the air. And like you brought up, there was that blue rain this week in Texas. And a lot of people are theorizing that that has something to do with some kind of government experiment.
Yeah, a lot of people think it has to do with the chemtrails.
Yeah.
Some people were drinking it and said they got violently ill, but why would you drink it?
Yeah, that's what you get if you drink that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. What makes people think, oh, that's odd rain, I'm going to drink that?
Yeah. Don't. Yeah. For our listeners out there, all 8 million of you, if something's not the normal color, just don't consume it.
Yeah, it's probably not a good idea.
Kind of like don't eat the yellow snow, don't drink the blue rain.
Exactly.
That's actually what Prince was talking about on Purple Rain. But while the colorful rain is very odd, and at first when it starts falling, it's kind of creepy, but, you know, it has a relatively logical and natural explanation, usually. Mm-hmm. We still don't know about the blue rain, but for the most part,
I'm sure they'll figure it out.
Or it'll just never get talked about again.
Exactly.
Now, something that's even weirder than like rainbow rain is when strange objects start falling from the sky.
Oh, I love those.
In 1940, in Russia, over 1,000 old coins rained down over a small town.
What?
Yeah, this would be the most expensive rain ever. What's really cool about it is those coins were actually from an old buried treasure from the 1500s.
How did that happen? Do they know?
Yes.
Okay.
So it was buried somewhere, and a tornado came through and picked up the coins. It was able to, like, I guess it went right over where it was all buried and sucked it right up. And it kind of got trapped up in the atmosphere and then fell down from the sky.
Whoa, that's cool.
Yeah.
That had to hurt, though.
I would imagine. Well, have you heard the thing of, like, if a penny falls from a skyscraper, it'll, like, pierce your scalp and kill you?
Yeah, I don't know if I believe that, though.
I don't know either.
But I feel like coins pelting down on you from the sky would definitely hurt.
Yeah. Well, I feel like this next one would probably hurt a little bit more. So in December of 2011 in Coventry, England, they had apples raining down from the sky.
Oh my. Okay, how? Is it the same, like a tornado?
Yeah. But what's weird about this one is the townspeople were like, when did a tornado come through? Like, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But it is believed to have been from a tornado or some kind of crazy gust of wind, but it doesn't totally add up. This is not a super isolated incident. I mean, it's relatively isolated, but it happened another time, also in England in 1984, when a couple reported apples falling on top of their house for over an hour.
That makes no sense. There's no way that many apples got picked up by a tornado.
No, and they don't disperse anywhere. They just fall straight down.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Imagine trying to tell somebody that.
I know, calling in and being like, we have apples falling from the sky.
It's raining apples over here.
I would be afraid to eat those apples.
Me too. What would they do, though? Just have a bunch of rotting apples all over their house and stuff?
I guess. I don't know. Compost it?
That sounds like a mess.
It does. There are a few other strange incidences of things falling from the sky. Like one time in Kansas, a bunch of corn husks rained down.
Just the husk?
Just the husk. And it was that same theory of the tornado picking something up. But that makes sense, especially in Kansas being Tornado Alley.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like we have quite a few tornadoes in this area, and I never hear of like lumber falling from the sky or randomly a trampoline fell from the sky. I mean, I've heard of that stuff being like swept into your yard or carried
you'll get the, like,
several miles. Yeah.
But not raining down. But like
Exactly.
It is possible for the things to kind of be caught up and then get trapped up there and then it drops down with the rain.
It seems like the coins and apples would be too heavy, though.
I know. That's where it gets really weird. And like, how did the wind... I mean, obviously a tornado could carry apples, but without the tornado present or without all the crazy winds, how did the apples stay up there and not fall apart?
Yeah. Huh.
This was documented at one point in Florida with golf balls, but it was like around a golf course.
Mm-hmm. See, that makes sense.
That makes a little more sense, yeah.
Yeah.
That, of course, is all very weird on its own. But even weirder than random objects is when animals rain down from the sky.
Now, I've heard of fish, and I think that's all I've heard of.
So fish are the most common.
And birds.
Yeah, I feel like birds really make sense.
Yeah, because they're already up there. And a lot of times they do fly into, they get trapped in the vortex of hurricanes and things like that.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah. So if a bunch of birds are flying together and get like trapped in that vortex and die up there, and their dead bodies are just kind of being flung around, and they would drop when the wind stopped.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Fish is another story. Now, the weirdest incident of fish falling from the sky comes from Yoro, Honduras. Every year they experience something that is known as the rain of fish, and it happens every year at least once. Sometimes it happens 4 times a year, but it's always between May and June. It literally is just fish fall from the sky.
They know
Every
why, though, right?
no.
Really?
They there's like a quote explanation,
Okay.
um, but it's not. I don't think it's a great one. We'll get into it, of course, but every single year at the same time, fish rain down from the sky. I mean, that statistically makes no sense.
Mm-mm.
And it's been going on for years. And ever since 1998, they actually hold a festival in honor of it where they have a parade and everything. According to the people in Yoro, they say that the fish rain started and came from a miraculous gift that was brought from a Spanish priest who he came in like the 1800s and was like, "Oh, I want to pray for you guys to always have food." So he convinced God to give the people fish. And ever since then, it rains fish once a year.
Are they edible or is it like,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. The main theory is that the fish are being sucked up in a water spout, which is
Mm-hmm.
a tornado over water. So again, we have the tornado, but the fish get sucked up and then brought over, which would make sense. However, every single year at the same time between May and June, there's a tornado that's not being documented that sucks a bunch of fish up. Only fish, no other creatures, just fish.
You would think you would get like seaweed and
Yeah, all
sludge and all sorts of junk that's especially trash now in the ocean.
yeah. What also is weird is it rains down in the exact same spot every single time. Like it's not
That's,
happening in other parts of Honduras, it's happening in this one town.
yeah.
And the closest body of water is 45 miles away. So 45 miles away is the ocean, and that tornado drops down, picks up fish, brings them into the sky, doesn't drop them anywhere in between the coast and the town, and then drops them over the town between May and June 1 to 4 times a year.
That is bizarre.
Yeah.
That theory doesn't logically make any sense.
No, and that's the scientific answer.
They don't have any like,
Anything better to go off of?
yeah, but do they have evidence that this maybe the same cycle of tornadoes occurs? Just because, here we know that it's going to be
Yeah, the
tornado
season.
season between April to May, usually into
Yeah.
March. Is it not like that?
I mean, I guess it would be, but you would think other areas would get it, or that some years they maybe would miss it, but
You would think, yeah.
they always get it. This is not the only instance of animals raining down from the sky. It's actually been documented since the 1st century AD that animals have been raining down from the sky. And it usually is fish or frogs, but it's been happening for a long time. And of course, a lot of it can kind of be answered like, the tornado theory,
Mm-hmm.
wind theory, but some of it does not make any sense, especially when it usually is frogs and toads, marine creatures, usually fish, but there are also reports of octopus, jellyfish, starfish, and seashells falling from the sky.
A combination or just all octopus?
I think it was single, like each one was its own.
That's kind of difficult to do, I would think, for a
Yeah.
tornado.
There are also instances of bugs raining down. That's my least favorite,
Ew.
but it's typically spiders or worms.
No.
Yeah. Now that makes sense though. Like the spider can be, they can like fly on their little webs sometimes.
Especially if it's Australia does have that huge like spider outbreak.
Yeah, and they're very
Ugh.
small. They're very light. They can be up in trees and high places, so they can very easily be picked up in wind. Worms, though, I guess they're up in trees too, but I don't know. I would not want.
Caterpillars, not worms. Worms are in the ground.
Yeah, I don't know what worms are doing in this. I don't know what any of these animals are doing raining down in the sky. The only one that
Uh-uh.
makes any sense to me would be a spider.
Yeah.
However, what's really weird is this occurrence of the tornado sucking up animals has never actually been officially witnessed. Like, no one has actually seen officially any animals being sucked up into a tornado and then dispersed as rain.
It would be kind of hard to witness because a tornado is so destructive and chaotic.
Yeah, I agree. But, like, you can see it pick up a cow and fly the cow around.
Yeah. Plus, where are all these animals just gathering and waiting?
I know, a huge horde of, like, fish makes sense. They
Yeah.
get together in schools. Spiders make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, giant hordes of frogs
Yeah, where are all these frogs chilling?
or octopus, like, it's
That
so weird.
octopus is the weirdest because they don't travel together. And they kind of hide and they're at the bottom of the ocean doing their thing.
Yeah, so while all of that is very strange and kind of spooky, I have one more to talk about. And that is, and I think you know this case, the Oakville Blob Rain of 1994.
Mm-mm.
You don't know it?
I don't.
Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Okay, get ready.
Okay.
So, this is the one I really want to take a plunge into.
Okay.
So, Oakville is a pretty small town in Grays Harbor County in the state of Washington. So, we're back to the Pacific Northwest area. It's a very small town. In 2020, the census report had a population of 715.
Wow, that's really small.
Yeah. And at the time of the blob rain in 1994, I believe it was like 600, probably less. I don't totally remember, but it was a pretty small amount. So it's a small town.
There are high school classes bigger than that.
Yeah, mine was bigger than that.
Oh, wow. No, mine was like not that big, like 50 people.
Mine was like, I don't know the math, but a lot more.
Hmm.
This is a quiet, small, sleepy town, cute little Washington. Nothing ever happens in this town, which I feel like we've heard a million times. This is how it
Yeah.
always goes. Cute little town where nothing ever happened until one day.
One day.
Now, they were originally known for lumber, but now they are known all over the world for a mysterious rainfall where gelatinous blobs fell from the sky.
Mm.
It's still a total mystery. We have no idea what this was and why it happened. So, on August 7th, 1994, at about 3 in the morning, it starts raining. Nothing odd, nothing unusual. Again, this is a very rainy area, so no one bats an eye.
Mm-hmm.
But it does not take long for people to notice that this is not a normal rain. It all starts with police officer David Lacey, and he was out and about driving in the rain that morning. He sees that his windshield is getting like really coated with a lot of what he thought was rain, but the windshield wipers kept smearing it, and it was like
Ew.
really thick, and he couldn't figure out what was going on. I think at first he probably would assume that it was just dirty or that he
Mm-hmm.
maybe hit something, but eventually he can't see. Like the wipers are just smearing it all over the glass. He can't see in front of him. So he pulls over into a little gas station. He gets out of the car to check it out. Before he gets over to his windshield, he puts on a pair of rubber gloves. He gets out of the car, walks over to the windshield, and he wipes his finger and wipes some of that goo off. He's looking at it and he's like, okay, this is not rain. Like, this is not normal rain. He realized that it was this gelatinous, mushy goo, and he described it as, quote, jello in your hand.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so not a normal rain at all.
No.
And of course, not only was it coating his car, but he looks around and he notices that it's all over everywhere. It's on the ground, it's raining down from the sky around him, and of course he's like, what the hell is going on?
Did a tornado hit a diaper factory?
Yeah, that
Is that a theory?
no,
Oh.
But that's kind of the lines of the theories.
Oh, okay.
Now, from there, a bunch of other residents, of course, start to take notice. In particular, we have Sunny Barclift. She had recently moved to Oakville and she was living with her mom at the time. Her mom's name was Dottie Hearn. Early that morning, Dottie got up to let her dogs out in the rain, and then Sunny gets up and she notes that she was looking outside that morning and she noticed what she thought was a bunch of hail all over the backyard.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's kind of what it looks like, it's just like little
Yeah.
balls and it's kind of that off-white color, like hail.
Yeah.
Her mom, Dottie, was outside with the dogs and she assumed the same thing, that it had just hailed. So barehanded, her mom bends down to pick up the quote, hail, but she realizes that it's mushy and translucent and definitely not hail at all, because, hail is hard and cold, and this was not like that at all. She also described it as being about half the size of a grain of rice, and it was all over the yard. At first, they just thought it was like this weird incident. I mean, people were obviously, kind of weirded out, but they didn't have a whole lot of concern around it. They just thought it was this mysterious blob rain.
I would have been so concerned.
Well, I think, yeah. I mean, I'm afraid of everything, so yeah.
Yeah, I guess me too. You and me would have been like, don't go outside, don't breathe the air. Yeah. I wouldn't have let my dogs out.
No, no. Well, it doesn't take long for people to realize that there is something to be concerned about, because remember, Dottie touched the blob with her bare hands.
Uh-huh.
And that was pretty early in the morning. Through the day, she noted that she started to get kind of nauseous and dizzy. Then by the afternoon, she was like extremely dizzy, extremely nauseous, and her vision was blurred. She had a fever. Her daughter, Sunny, finds her in the bathroom laying on the floor, struggling to breathe. Yeah.
That's drastic from just touching it.
Yeah. And it came on relatively quick in a matter of hours. I mean, maybe that's not too quick, but it's not like like you can be exposed to something and it takes several days to months to years to get you sick. This was in a matter of hours. Sunny, of course, calls 911 and her mom is rushed to the hospital. And around the same time, some of Dottie and Sunny's friends were also complaining that they were getting sick, and I think they also went to the hospital. Then Officer Lacey, he also got sick. Now, he touched the blobs with gloves on, but he did get pretty sick, but I don't believe he got as sick as Dottie did.
Could it have gotten on him when he was, like, outstanding in it?
Yeah, I mean, even touching it with the gloves on, you've still got it probably pretty close to your face. You're probably breathing something in.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's raining from the sky, it's in the air,
Yeah.
But Officer Lacey, he believed right away that the blobs were the culprit as to why he was getting sick. He explained that he was, quote, violently sick like I've never been before, to the point where it just totally shut me down.
My goodness.
And he also ended up in the hospital. But Dottie, she was in the hospital for 4 days, and the doctors could not figure out what was going on with her. It was clear that she had some kind of infection. She's got a fever. That's a telltale sign that you have some kind of virus or infection or whatever. But doctors could not figure it out. Her and Officer Lacey were not alone with this. A bunch of other people were being hospitalized at the same time with the same symptoms. And the doctors were just totally unsure. At first, the doctors were like, okay, there's probably some weird strain of the flu going around, but they weren't able to figure it out or pinpoint anything. Now, Sunny came to the hospital with her mom, and she was convinced that the blobs had something to do with it, just because it was too odd of a coincidence for this weird rain to be happening and for everyone to get sick, right?
Yeah.
Sunny is talking to Dottie's doctor, and she's like, yeah, the blobs are making everyone sick. I know it. But the doctor was like, no, that doesn't make sense. Like, definitely not. That's not the case. She's just sick.
How would it not make sense?
I know.
You have blob rain that's random and weird, and then everybody's getting sick at the same time. To me, that's a direct correlation.
I agree, but maybe the doctor knew something.
Dun, dun, dun.
I'm not saying like that. Literally that doesn't go anywhere from here. Like,
Oh.
well, of course.
I thought we were going to go into a conspiracy like last week's where it was
No,
like,
we do. We definitely
oh,
do.
okay.
But the doctor does not. He doesn't come up again with it.
Okay, he's not that kind of doctor like the last one.
No, I'm just thinking maybe, like, who knows? He could have
Yeah.
been in on it. But he was convinced that the blobs had nothing to do with it. Sunny was convinced that the blobs had everything to do with it. She really pushed for the blob narrative and eventually convinced the doctor to run some tests on it. She brought in a sample that she had collected from the yard. The doctor agrees and they do some testing on the blob. It comes back that the blob, they don't know what it is. Like, they can't figure it out, but it does contain white blood cells.
What?
Yeah. Now, some of the reports I saw suggest that the blood cells were human blood cells. Like, 2 of the reports said white human blood cells, and a few others said that it was just white blood cells and they didn't know what kind of creature it came from. But either way, some kind of white blood cell
Is raining from the sky, aliens.
Yeah. And of course people think that.
Mm-hmm.
But what also is really weird is the blood cell had no nuclei in it.
Aliens.
Yeah, something super not normal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it would need the nuclei. The people that examined it were like, we have no idea. Like, this is really weird. So I think that kind of added to Sunny's belief that the blobs really did have something to do with everyone falling ill.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely.
Now, at the time that Dottie was in the hospital, the doctors ended up diagnosing her with Meniere's disease.
What is that?
It's a disorder in the ear. It's some kind of ear disorder. I'm not totally clear, but some of the symptoms did line up. However, the only symptoms that lined up for Dottie was the fact that she had fatigue and dizziness. But because this is not an infection, Meniere's disease is a disorder, she would not get a fever from it.
Yeah, and that doesn't explain why everybody else is sick too. Do they all have it?
That's what the doctor said. Everyone had Meniere's disease.
No sense.
Makes no sense. What also makes literally no sense is the fact that Dottie and everyone else made a full recovery. Meniere's disease, you don't recover from. It's not something you cure. You can take medication and whatnot, but it doesn't just go away. But everyone, their symptoms just went away as if it was a virus. Even though for, I think Dottie and a few other people, the symptoms lasted for several months, though. It took quite a while to get back to normal for most people, which is very weird, especially if you don't know what you have.
Yeah, I would be freaking out that I was going to die. Or have it forever.
Yeah. Like that first bit of COVID.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was a kind of similar feeling. Now, while Dottie was still in the hospital, back at her house, to her 2 dogs that she had taken out that morning, they got sick.
Oh, I was thinking they probably would.
Yeah, they survived though.
That's good.
The vet gave them some antibiotics and they were fine. However, Sunny came home to find her cat dead on the front porch.
Oh, I wonder if because cats lick themselves.
Yeah, so do dogs.
Not as much. The cat probably bathed itself and got a lot of it in its system.
Cats are also a little more sensitive to things.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of people kind of bring up the fact that her cat died as reason to not believe in the seriousness of the blobs, because her cat apparently was already not doing well. I don't know exactly what was going on with the cat, but the cat was not in good health. But I feel like if the cat had a compromised immune system already, it would just make it more likely for it to be fatal. But sadly, the cat was not the only animal to die. So, along with the sick dog and a dead cat, a bunch of people reporting dead livestock, frogs, and ravens.
Just ravens, not birds?
I don't know. I saw reports of specifically raven. I don't know if other birds were involved with that. I would assume so.
Yeah.
But some of the reports also said that these dead animals that were being found all over town also had green slime coming out of their mouths.
Definitely from the blobs.
Yeah, that's not normal.
No.
At this time, word is like really spreading around town. It's also, a small town. I feel like most everyone knows everyone
Oh,
already.
yeah, they definitely do.
So they're, of course, all talking about the weird blob rain. And now it's not just weird blob rain. Now it's not just people getting sick, but people getting sick and all these animals are also dying, some of which have green slime on their mouths.
Mm.
The town is obviously very concerned. But something very interesting to note is a lot of people that would like report it to
Hmm.
like higher ups and authorities and whatever, they would note that the people answering the phone call never seemed too concerned. That it was kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, thanks for letting me know. And that it was kind of like almost like passed off.
That is weird.
Very weird.
You would think the people answering the phone, because that's such a bizarre call to get.
Yeah. There was someone like, I think a politician, like a mayor or something, that people were calling, and he was like, oh, okay.
That's very odd behavior.
It is very odd behavior. And I find it very odd that the doctor was like so adamant that the blob had nothing to do with it and that it was just Meniere's disease, even though the symptoms did not add up.
I feel like the doctor knows.
Yeah, I didn't see anyone else discussing that theory that the doctor was involved on it, but I can't help but think that he was.
Yeah, me too. We're going to discuss it. Definitely was.
What also is weird is this did not just occur on August 7th, but it kept happening for 3 weeks.
Shut up.
Yeah, like sporadically, like it wasn't just a constant blob rain, but every time it rained, the blobs came down, and every time animals and people would get sick, animals would be found dead, and people just kept getting more and more concerned about it, of course.
That doesn't make sense because if you're looking at the tornado theory or things like that, it wouldn't be happening sporadically that long. Everything would have fell, you would think.
Yeah. Or it would like keep going. Like the like weather patterns, they don't just like stay still, they keep going, and that's
Yeah,
kind of what
it would
creates
have
weather.
it would have traveled across the state.
Yeah.
Hmm.
After those 3 weeks, the blob rain, it stopped. All the blobs that were left on the ground just kind of dissolved and were gone. And that was it.
They dissolve though?
Yeah, they kind of just like disappeared and went into the ground, I
Well,
guess.
they are white blood cells, so.
Yeah. They seemed to be natural. Not naturally made, but of natural substance.
Hmm. I wonder if they
Um,
smelled bad as they were doing this.
I don't know. I didn't see anything about that.
You would think.
Well, we'll kind of touch on that in
Okay.
the theories. But just something interesting to note, right after the rain stopped, Sunny got sick, and not like the same weird sickness that everyone else was experiencing, but she ended up
Hmm.
getting like really bad bronchitis that took her a while to recover from. I do find that kind of odd that she ended up getting bronchitis, because bronchitis is pretty serious.
Hmm. Well, if she's breathing in whatever's in the atmosphere.
Yeah, and she's like collecting samples of it and whatnot.
Hmm.
Now,
Oh, what if she's keeping that in her house?
well, she did.
Oh.
She had been collecting blob samples, keeping them in a freezer because she had a feeling that she
Were
was
there
getting
food?
maybe a different. Well, they lived on a farm, so maybe they had like more.
Multiple? I would
Yeah,
hope
I
they
don't know.
weren't storing that next to their butchered cow from the summer before.
I hope not.
Oh
I don't
my.
know, but it was really smart for her to keep it because she had a feeling that she was going to need it, obviously. So she ends up sending it out to get tested. And she gets in touch with Mike McDowell at the Department of Health. He ends up finding out that the blobs have traces of two different kinds of bacteria. I really don't know how to pronounce these, so I'm just gonna say it.
Do your best. We're not experts on that here for sure.
One of the bacteria that was found in the blobs was Pseudomonas fluorescens. Not bad, not bad.
Mm-mm.
And another one was Enterobacter cloacae. Cloacae.
Okay.
That one was a little hard to say, but I
Yeah.
did okay with the first one, I think.
I think you're fine.
But both of those bacteria are found in the human digestive tract.
What?
Yeah. And some strains of it can cause respiratory infections. Sunny just got bronchitis.
Yeah.
Some more testing was done on the samples, and the Department of Ecology believed that it was some kind of biological waste, which would make sense because it's made of, again, natural material.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't seem to be any kind of normal waste.
Yeah. Where are you going to have that many white blood cells without the nuclei in them? Are we just putting these in buckets somewhere? Like, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, we could discuss that too in theories, because it's like, where are they getting these white blood cells from and why are they collecting them?
Yeah.
And it's really creepy and really gross, actually.
It is. And then the white blood cells have stuff from the digestive tract in them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or not, no, the blood cells don't have it, but the blobs have it. So they've got this like whole mixture of crap going on.
Ew. That's all raining down on all of your stuff, and that is really gross if you actually think about it.
It is.
Especially if you do go with the theory that it's like some kind of biohazard waste from like a medical facility that's just raining down on your home and yourself, and
yeah, well, that would really make sense why everyone got sick.
Yeah.
Now, much like Sonny, the biologist Mike McDowell, the guy who was working at the Department of Health, he becomes very interested in this whole case, and he starts like really studying it and looking into the blobs as much as he can with the little bit of samples that Sonny is giving him.
Mm-hmm.
He notes that the blobs appear to be man-made, and he thinks that they were being used as a vessel to deliver the bacteria. But again, they weren't totally sure what it was all made out of.
And why so much of it?
Yeah, and how did they do it? But this was all documented, of course. Then, while he was studying it, the samples went missing.
Shocking.
And his work was gone. Yep, shocking. I'm surprised he didn't, quote, commit suicide.
I was waiting for you to say that next, actually. I didn't want to do a spoiler.
Well, I know he's dead now. I don't know how he died, so maybe, I don't know.
Mm.
So now he doesn't have the samples. His work's gone. He can't work on it anymore, right? He goes up to the supervisor and he's like, hey, all this stuff went missing. And this was the first time in 30 years of work that any of his stuff had ever gone missing.
Oh, it was definitely taken on purpose.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But when he brings it up to the supervisor said to stop asking questions and let it go.
Oh, I'm not shocked at that either.
No. Also, the samples are gone, and there are no photos. Like, if you Google it, it'll be like, oh, here's a picture. It's all fake. There are actually no photos of the blobs. And something that is, like, really weird, when I was doing the research, when you Google it, Oakville Blobs, it doesn't come up right away. When you Google this, what comes up is the town of Oakville. What to do, tourism, history, and you have to kind of scroll down to find the Oakville Blob mystery. And even then, there's not that much info on it.
That's very odd. You would think with such an unusual occurrence happening within a town that people would have taken pictures and still have those pictures. And all that, of course, usually gets posted straight online.
Yeah, that kind of adds to one theory that it was all fake, but I don't think the whole town was in on it.
That's a lot of people to convince, like, we're all going to do this. Is there some reason this town needs tourism or some? And even that, like,
it doesn't bring tourism either.
No, it's not a very good idea. Yeah. It's not good publicity for the town at all. Come to the town that rains blobs and gets you very ill.
Yeah, well, and it's not like Officer Lacey or Dottie or Sonny or Mike McDowell. Nobody wrote a book about it.
Oh, so they're not even doing that.
No, so I don't think it was fake at all.
I don't either. That seems like way too many people to convince to be all on the same train there.
For seemingly no reason.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, let's talk some theories. The first one is the slime mold theory. Now, slime mold is not actually mold at all. It's clumps of single-cell organisms that act together as one unit.
Okay.
It's kind of confusing, kind of creepy, but people think that could have been raining down.
But
But
where would it have all come
yeah, I don't
from?
know why it was so much. Why were people getting sick? And how come when they tested it, could they not figure out that it was something that was already scientifically understood?
And why didn't it move across the state?
Yeah, it just kept raining down
Mm-hmm.
clumps of single cell organisms in one area. That alone is very weird.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say no to that one.
Yeah, I can't wrap that around my mind and make it make sense.
This next theory is kind of the favorite, but it's not the one that people believe in. But the jellyfish theory.
Okay.
There is a military base nearby.
Of course
Of
there is.
course, there is. But they were doing some testing with live bombs about 20 miles off the coast out in the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
There's this theory that they bombed a bunch of jellyfish, and it blows the jellyfish up, shoots them into the sky. They get caught in wind currents, brought over then by the storm, and then it rains chunks of jellyfish
But for 3 weeks,
for 3 weeks.
sporadically,
Yeah, again, same area. It doesn't go anywhere else. Also, again, they tested it. It was not jellyfish.
they would have been like this. Yeah, this is jellyfish goo or whatever, chunks of
Yeah.
jellyfish.
And kind of like with the fish in Honduras, why is it only fish? Why is it not sand or shells or seaweed or algae or plankton or anything else?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it just jellyfish?
Yeah.
So even though people don't really buy that theory, Oakville has kind of like ran with it, and now they actually have a jelly fest to commemorate it once a year as kind of like fun.
Yeah, I mean, I could see how people would want to stick to it. If you don't think too much into it, it seems like, oh, okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. But I mean, if you really like, wait,
Yeah,
then it
getting
falls
into the
apart.
logistics and the details.
Yeah, then it falls apart.
Yeah, falls apart like a jellyfish.
Do jellyfish fall apart?
Well, when they're bombed, they do.
No, yeah, I guess you got me there.
They fall apart, and I guess they go into the sky and come down as rain with white blood cells with no nuclei that can't be traced.
Digestive stuff, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, those white blood cells, some reports say that it was human.
Oh, that gives me the ick.
Human jellyfish. That's like a
Aliens.
new type of mermaid.
Maybe it was a school of mermaids.
Ooh, I like that theory.
Mm-hmm.
So the next theory we have is airplane waste. However, this one's also very easily debunkable.
Isn't that blue usually? I feel like
Exactly.
the water's blue in the airplane.
Yeah, they dye it blue so that they can see if it leaks and they know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also incredibly illegal. Airplanes do not do that,
Yeah.
especially commercial ones. Also, what are the odds that they are continuously dumping human waste from the airplane only over Oakville?
I mean, unless somebody really had some vendetta out against that town that was a pilot.
Yeah,
He's like, there it is.
there's
Drop
Oakville.
them.
All 600 of you.
Drop it.
But again, they tested the blobs. Wouldn't they see that it was human waste?
The chemicals alone that the plane uses in those toilets would have definitely shown up on testing.
Yeah. And again, the blobs are not blue.
No.
The final theory, the theory that I believe.
Aliens.
No.
Aw.
I mean, I guess it could. That wasn't. I mean, do you think it's aliens?
Probably.
Okay. Well, this theory is government testing.
I mean that too. That might
So,
trump over my aliens.
for several days prior to the blob rain, Sunny, along with other residents, noticed black, slow-moving military helicopters flying over the town.
As you always do before something goes down.
Yeah. And remember, they're near a base.
Mm-hmm. Just like the goblins, the Hopkinsville ones.
Yeah, and Sudbrink phone calls.
Uh-huh.
The military fiercely denies this, but this would not be the first time that the military does something like that. We've had Operation Orange. There are tons of other chemical and biological warfare experiments that they have done on innocent people that had no idea that this was happening. A lot of people are always like, well, if the government or the military or whatever, if they're doing something, we would know about it.
No, they don't care. And that's we're the last people they're going to be like, oh yeah, that was us.
Well,
No,
and who's willingly going to be like, yeah, you can test me for biological warfare? No.
no.
And this is something like the Manhattan Project. We know about the Manhattan Project today, but before it was officially released or declassified, it was a black project, meaning it was secret from the public.
Mm-hmm.
It's just weird to think that people don't believe it's literally real. Like
Mm-hmm.
black projects are real, and this very well could be a black project that never got declassified. For some reason, people seem to think that the government doesn't do this anymore.
Oh, they most certainly do.
Yeah, they have better technology
Mm-hmm.
and are, as we see every day, they are more corrupt.
Mm-hmm.
I would not put it past them for a second.
No, not at all.
And the fact that people in power didn't seem, they weren't like, oh my God, this is crazy. It was like, oh, okay. And the
Yeah.
fact that the doctor fiercely was like, no, no, no. And the fact that the samples went missing, the fact that if you Google it, not too much information comes up. Like
Mm-hmm.
when I was doing the research for this episode and I'm looking up strange rain, I'm going through lists of weird rain. This wasn't in it.
This should be like number one.
Yeah, like this is, you know what else made the list?
What?
A cow. But the cow didn't like rain down. It wasn't like bovine rain. It was a
Just
cow that
one
got
cow.
swept up. Yeah, like in Wizard of Oz when things are flying around. Or there was one incident with a human body that fell out of an airplane.
That's not
But
rain.
yeah, those made the list, but this did not. This was like across multiple lists that I looked into. So I do find it very odd. And the fact that there are no photos, I think has less to do with people not having taken a photo and more to do with the government covering up the photo.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Wonder if they were using it for some kind of war, biological weapon, rain down on
Yeah,
the enemy.
that's kind of what I was thinking. And
Hmm.
maybe they chose Oakville because it's secluded
Small
and
population.
yeah, tiny. Like who the hell knows about Oakville?
It's not going to get a whole lot of publicity or
No.
anything
And it's still a total mystery to this day. Still denied by military.
until those
And
documents come out.
yeah, well, that'll be probably a long time because this was relatively recent, 94.
How long does it take for them to usually release documents like that?
I have no clue.
Me neither. I think there's like a time period on those.
Yeah, but
Maybe?
what if this is one that does, like, what if this one's connected to something way bigger?
Oh,
Because it seems like it's not that much. Like, it seems like it's less than Operation Orange and Manhattan Bomb and whatnot.
hmm.
But what if it's like really deep?
Oh, yeah, the rabbit hole just keeps going with it.
Yeah, kind of like JFK. Everyone's like,
Hmm.
oh my God, they're going to release it. No, they're not.
No, they're not.
Because, first of all, they don't have to. Second of all, when they do release that, and no, if they release that, you're not going to just know the truth. You're going to know the government's been lying for decades. And then the people are going to be
Hmm.
like, wait, you lied to us about JFK. What else are you lying about?
I think most people do know at this time that they're lying. Well, maybe not. A lot of people still do think that that's conspiracy and that it
Yeah.
actually was just a gunman. With the military base, everything adds up that it was perhaps some kind of biological weapon testing
Yeah.
to me.
Well,
I
and
feel like it's pretty obvious.
I agree. And they could pretty easily make it rain in that area. Also, it's a rainy area. Maybe they thought no one would notice it.
Yeah,
Like
I don't think it
maybe,
was actually raining. I think it was being dropped down on them.
oh, you do?
Yeah, while the rain was coming down, would have been a perfect
Oh,
time.
yeah, like a cover up. That makes sense.
Hmm.
I was thinking maybe they didn't expect as much to fall because, like, cloud seeding is a very real thing. It's a real
Hmm.
thing that the government does or has worked on.
Yeah, but then they risk it traveling.
Yeah,
Hmm.
maybe it did. But maybe it fell somewhere super secluded and they were able to change the weather pattern to make it stop.
Perhaps that seems like a lot.
Getting a
I
little
feel
tin
like,
hatty.
yeah, I feel like it's a lot easier. Like if it's a really stormy day, they could go ahead and make those drops, especially if they were already seeing these slow helicopters. Maybe the helicopters were kind of just doing test flights of where they were
Yeah.
going to drop this and
Well,
how,
and
and
then you
the
probably
speed
don't
of the
think it's going to get
helicopters to
there.
make it look like it was rain.
Yeah, if it's all cloudy, you're not going to see them passing by.
Mm-mm. You're
I,
going to
I,
be noticing the rain. You're not going to be looking up looking for planes or helicopters.
uh-huh.
Wow.
So we settled it. We solved it.
We always do here on Nessie's Dead. We
We
always
do.
do. Hmm.
Well,
It's
that's all I
just
have for
it's
the Oakville
just so
Blobs.
crazy that the government does all these bizarre things and everybody just turns their head like, no, that's crazy talk.
Yeah. Oh, they did it once, twice, 3 times. Okay, 10. Okay, 100. But they're not doing it now.
They would never continue to experiment with technologies and,
Yeah,
biological warfares. Not at all. That's such an interesting story, though. I had never heard of that.
I'm shocked.
I am too. I feel like that's something that's right up my alley of things that I would throw out at people and get that look like, okay, you're crazy.
Yeah, next time I meet a new person, I'm going to be like, wait, meet a new person?
You don't leave your place. How are you going to meet somebody?
Me, I always leave my place.
Oh, it's me that's the only one.
Yeah.
I kind of always just assume my friends don't either.
I feel like I go home every night.
I'm always home. Well, I loved it. I think it was very interesting, and I'm curious to see how many people actually know about this or have ever even heard of this. I mean, I most certainly did not.
Well, do you see now when I offered you the hint, when you asked for
Yeah.
a hint and I sent you the video of Gaga dancing in the rain?
I thought you were going to cover that conspiracy with Gaga or like pop star conspiracies.
Well, so you guessed conspiracy.
I did guess conspiracy. I mean, what else would come with a Lady Gaga dancing in the rain?
Yeah, because she has one.
Hmm.
But
I was for
there's,
sure it was going to be that. But I like this because it's new and it's something I didn't know.
yeah, I think it was a refreshing episode, considering it's been a lot of true crime.
Yeah, we've been going into some really. I mean, the serial killer nun was pretty dark. The Boys on the Track was really sad and dark, considering
Yeah,
it's never going to be solved.
yeah. Two
Denver
conspiracy
Spider-Man was fun, but so creepy. It's
very unsettling.
very unsettling. It still
Yeah.
has me kind of like, eh.
Yeah, a serial killer nun torture chamber, a
Uh,
hiding in the crawl space killer, and
a government cover up for.
government cover up of 2 dead innocent teenagers
Hmm.
for drug trafficking. So this colorful rain and toxic blobs is kind of fun considering
Yeah,
everything else.
for real. Well, if that's all you got, I guess that's all we've got for tonight.
That's all I've got.
I guess with that, we'll say,
Good night.
and pleasant nightmares.
Bah.
Bye.